Today's topic in our early childhood education class is exploring early childhood education. Let's jump in here. First of all, I want to do a brief overview of early childhood education. And remember, whenever we see ECE, it stands for early childhood education. First, I want to answer a few questions. What is an early childhood education program? Early childhood education program is a kind of a generic term for a place where providers or teachers offer learning and care services for young children to help children to learn, grow, and develop. So again, it's a place where teachers provide teaching so kids can learn. In early childhood education, something I want you to know is that learning and care are inseparable. They can't be divided. Teachers provide educational learning opportunities for children, and they help care for children's personal needs. So depending on the age of the child in your classroom will dictate what their personal needs are. So teachers provide both learning experiences and help to take care of children's personal needs. Early childhood programs generally serve children between the ages of 6 weeks and 8 years. In Illinois, before a child can attend a licensed child care program, they have to be at least 6 weeks old. Next question I'm going to ask and answer is, in what settings do early childhood programs occur? Childcare or daycare. My preferable word here is childcare. I've never really liked daycare, but childcare shows that we are caring for children. Preschool is another place. Preschools are traditionally a program that does not operate on a full day, but might be a half day, might have a morning preschool, an afternoon preschool, might be 5 days a week, or might be fewer days a week. That's why we're calling ours here a preschool, because we're open 3 days a week and we're open half days. So we're more like a preschool than a full day childcare. Family childcare is another option where a family provider provides care and education right in his or her home. So many people choose to do this, and a lot of children are cared for in family childcare settings. Elementary or grade school, this is typically where children between kindergarten and third grade, so kindergarten, first, second, and third, are all considered early childhood because children are still young, but often these take place in a public or private school. Next, in our class, we're going to do a student sharing, where I'm going to ask students to respond to our class answering one of the following 3 questions. Question 1, if you went to an early childhood program, what do you remember about attending that early childhood program? I'm just curious as to what your memories are of what it was like being in that early childhood program. Your second choice is, what types of activities or what parts of the day did you most enjoy? So hopefully you can remember back. If not, hopefully you spoke with a parent or guardian and learned a little bit about what you enjoyed about childcare, preschool, etc. Third question, if you spent your early childhood years at home and you were not cared for outside of the home, what types of activities or play activities did you most enjoy? So we'll take a little bit of time in our class to answer one of these 3 questions. Next question I want to ask and answer is, why do children attend early childhood education programs? First one is for learning and socialization, learning about the world in which we live, and socializing, being able to learn how to get along with others well. To help prepare them for kindergarten and beyond. So anymore, it's really kind of necessary and helpful for children to learn a lot before they get to kindergarten, just to make their kindergarten year more successful for them. To provide a safe and enriching environment while parents or guardians work or attend school. So oftentimes parents or guardians work or attend school and need a place for their children to grow, learn, and be cared for while the parent is working or at school. Next one I have on here is to help address any developmental needs that a child may have. So sometimes a child will be lagging behind in speech, and it might be suggested that they join an early childhood program to help develop their speech and help them learn how to speak and listen to others. The last one I have on here is to provide some alone or task time for parents or guardians. So sometimes a parent does not work outside of the home, but that doesn't mean they don't have work to do in the home or just want some alone time. So sometimes parents will bring children to childcare, preschool, etc., so that they can have some alone or some task time. And then I have why else, if you can think of any other reasons why parents might have children attend early childhood programs. The next question I want to ask and answer is just who teaches in early childhood programs? Teachers teach. It's really important that early childhood teachers be called teachers because that's just what they are. Sometimes I've heard early childhood teachers called babysitters, and that is kind of an offensive term for teachers because they do so much more than just sitting and watching a child. They do all kinds of things to help that child to learn. So truly, they are teachers. Sometimes also they're called providers. So often in a childcare setting, they may be called providers rather than teachers, but I still prefer teachers. They have varying levels of education and training, those who teach in early childhood programs. And here I'm going to show 3 different levels. So somebody with a high school diploma or a GED can serve as an assistant in a classroom or operate a family child care. To have a family child care, a degree is not required, however it is helpful. And to work in a licensed center, if you simply have a high school degree, you'd be able to be an assistant who'd always need to be supervised by a teacher or a lead teacher. Next is somebody with an associate's degree. An associate's degree takes about 2 years to earn. If they get an associate's degree with 6 or more credit hours, which is typically 2 classes in early childhood education, they would be able to be a teacher in a preschool or childcare center. So they would be able to be in charge of a group of children, responsible for a classroom. And finally here is bachelor's degree. That's the 4-year degree. And if you have a 4-year degree with teacher certification, you would need that to teach in a public school. So depending on how much education each of you is interested in getting, that would kind of dictate where you could work if you want to work with children after you finish high school. Next question is, what is the teacher's role in an early childhood classroom? So by role, I mean just what do the teachers do in the classroom? The first one with an exclamation mark is relationships. I think this is the key function of an early childhood teacher, to form loving, kind, gentle, supportive relationships with children. However, you're also forming relationships with coworkers, other teachers, and a lot of relationships with parents and guardians. So relational people do well in early childhood education. Next thing on here is to provide an enriching learning environment where children can learn in the way that comes naturally to them. Children learn through play. They learn through play, they learn through hands-on activities where they're touching stuff, and they learn through minds-on activities where they're thinking about things. So teachers provide a great environment for children to play. Another thing teachers do that's a really important one is classroom management, which we're going to learn a lot more about this in our class, but it's really guiding children's behavior, helping children to get along with each other, helping children to really engage in the learning activities you provided for them, that sort of thing. And then the last one I have on here is helping children learn much more than academic stuff. So sometimes we think about school as academic and you're learning how to count and you're learning to recognize colors and shapes and that kind of stuff, but you're learning so much more. You're learning social skills, just what it takes to get along with each other, what it takes to share, what it takes to initiate play with someone, that kind of stuff. You're also helping children to gain confidence, confidence that they can seek out learning opportunities and do well in them. You're teaching children how to get involved with others, how to get involved in play and learning, and so much more. So just remember that being a teacher is so much more than academic learning. So the next series of slides that we're going to look at just what does an early childhood education classroom look like. So I'm going to show several pictures to the class, and we're going to try to answer the question, what do we see in each picture about what an early childhood classroom looks like? So the first picture shown here, some of the things that I would point out is that there are small tables in this classroom. Children are smaller, so they need small tables. I also see some rugs in the classroom. You always want to have a mixture of kind of hard surfaces for perhaps doing art on, as well as soft surfaces for sitting on. I see that blue rug on the left. That looks like the group time area. So the teachers and children will gather over there for stories and songs and movement activities and that kind of stuff. I see a lot more, but let's look at the next picture. In this picture, some things that I see again are the little tables, but here I also see low shelves, so with the materials very accessible to them. So we want children to be able to be active learners. If they're active learners, they need to be able to get materials out by themselves, use the materials, and then put them back when they're finished. So low shelves is something I see here. I also see and like that the shelves are neutral in color, so they're kind of a tannish color. Sometimes classrooms will be really overwhelming to look at because they're full of color, so I really like neutral shelves like we see here, and then the things on the shelves add color to the classroom. This picture here I chose because the teacher is engaged with the children. So this may be a group time, it may be a small group activity. It looks like they have some counters of different colors in front of them. And I just see the kids and the teacher engaged in learning together. So that's why I chose that one. I also chose that one because they're all at the same level. It communicates respect to children when we're at their eye level. So we want to make sure that we're not standing while they're down at a child's level. Just another picture here, kind of showing a dramatic play or housekeeping area in the front, just showing you a interest center that you would find in a classroom. Also in the back there, we see these bright green cupboards, and storage is really important in an early childhood classroom because you want to be able to rotate materials out so kids don't get bored with what you're offering to them. This I thought was a really good illustration of a block area. We're going to have a time in our class where we learn about different interest centers like a block area, learn about how to set them up, how to make them work well for children, how to make them visually attractive like this one is. So this would be a block center that we would see in an early childhood classroom. Just another overview picture here. Again, we see some rugs for being comfortable. We see some other surfaces. Maybe this thing in the front here is a water table. If you have a water table in your classroom, you want to make it where you're not going to damage carpet if you were to spill, and make it easy to clean things up. So let's see. as we have here. This picture I chose because mealtime is an important part of the day. Not sure what the kids are eating here, but kids do need to eat during the day, just like all of us do, to keep our energy up, to get nutrition, to recuperate, that kind of thing. Pictured here is a rest time. You'll see that the children are resting on small cots in the classroom. Something I don't like about this picture is that the cots are very close together. We are supposed to have cots at least 3 feet apart. But something I do like in this picture is the teacher's not just saying, lie down, rest, be quiet, that kind of thing. But once the kids are on the cot, the teacher's reading a book to them. So kids at this point aren't really looking at the pictures, more they're thinking of what that picture might look like. So I thought that was a neat approach that this teacher has to making nap time be a calm and soothing place to be. So we just took a look at some pictures of early childhood classroom. Now we're going to kind of think about a day in the life of an early childhood classroom. So back, if you remember going, you might remember the different things that you did during the day. But I'm going to kind of go on the assumption that we want to talk about and learn the different parts of a day. So a day in the life, what does a typical day look like in an early childhood classroom? So I'm going to start off looking at, I don't know, 7 or 8 different things that happen during the day. First would be arrival time. Next, free play, child choice, learning centers. Next would be group times or meeting times. Meal time, as we saw in that picture before, breakfast, snacks, lunch, dinner. Outdoor time. Outdoor time is much more than recess in an early childhood classroom, and we will learn about that in this class. Rest time. Bathroom time throughout the day. And finally, after a long and fun learning day comes departure time. So what I'm going to do next is go through about 8 slides, each of them dealing with these times of the days independently, so you can know more of what arrival time, rest time, etc. look like in an early childhood class. So we're going to follow them in the same order. So the first one we have here is arrival time. In a childcare or preschool, parents or guardians bring children into the classroom. Life was crazy during COVID and this wasn't allowable, but when COVID is not something we have to concern ourselves with too much, we want parents to be able to bring children directly into the classroom. This will be different in elementary schools where children may take a bus and they may gather on the playground before coming in. But in the very young years, childcare and preschool, parents bring children directly into the classroom. Parents or guardians sign children in with a time and signature. So it's very important that you have this record of when kids are dropped off, who drops them off. You'll need that should you have a fire drill or anything like that. And it is also a requirement of DCFS, our licensing agency. The parent is encouraged to help the child put away items and wash their hands. It's a really important way to start the day. All children should wash their hands so they've got clean hands when they're going to start playing with the toys and learning materials in your center. Each child should also have a cubby, which is a place where they can put their items that belong to them. Another thing during arrival time is the teacher greets the children and parents and guardians using their name. So it's a much more inviting and welcome place when teachers get to know parent names and can greet them, as well as greeting children by name. The teacher should also be ready to receive information, ask parents how the child is doing. Sometimes a parent will say, oh, last night was an awful night. We didn't get much sleep, or we got home real late, or just different things about their child so that we have that information as we kind of take custody of their children as we care for them during that day. The next role for the teacher is to help the children get involved in activities. So sometimes children can come in and jump right into their favorite area. Sometimes a child may wander around a little bit, and we'll want to help them to get engaged in learning activities. And then the last thing I have on here for arrival time is we really want parents to say goodbye to their children, to really let children know I'm leaving now, I'm going to school or I'm going to work, and I'll be back to pick you up after, or so-and-so will be back to pick you up after. So really making a good departure. It's really tough when parents just try to sneak out because then later on children kind of feel a distrust because they don't know when the parent left. So saying goodbye, important. Sneaking out, not a good plan. Next slide, and next kind of thing happening during a day would be child choice time or free play, whatever we want to call it, and interest centers. So we're going to explore what that is. So the classroom is set up with a variety of centers where children play and learn. So we're going to have a block area, we're going to have a book area, we're going to have manipulatives, we're going to have art area, all kinds of different things, and we're going to learn more about that in other parts of our class. So the classroom is set up with a variety of interest centers where children play and learn. Children choose where they would like to play, and then they move freely among interest centers. So sometimes you have to kind of have some guidelines for how many kids can play in a particular center, but in general you want children to be able to do one activity until they're feeling finished, and then they can move to another activity, and so forth. So we want children to be able to make some choices in their day and what activity they're going to engage in. The teacher's role with the whole Child Choice and Interest Center is to first set up interest centers before children ever arrive, to rotate the materials regularly, and then engage in supportive play with children. So we're not setting up a classroom and then thinking, oh, I'm going to sit down at a desk while the kids play. No, we're going to be engaged in play with the children. When we're engaged in play with the children, that's when we have the opportunity to ask them questions, to challenge their thinking, to add ideas, that kind of stuff. So teachers really need to be engaged in children's play. We will learn much, much more about interest centers in other portions of our course. Next activity that takes place during the day would be group times or meeting times. Different teachers like to call them different things. I always called it group times when I was a teacher. This is a time when children and teachers gather for reading aloud, music, games, etc. Much of the day in a quality classroom is spent where children are not all together in a group. Children are not good group kids until they get older, but when they're young, we want to have group time to be kind of limited in time. So kind of short in duration, I would say 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes, really depending upon the ages of the children and the attention span that they have. Some days I might sit down with the idea of having a 20-minute group time, and I shorten it to 10 minutes just because the children aren't really engaged that day. So instead of getting frustrated myself and frustrating children, I want to be flexible with that. The lead teacher, their role is to plan the group time ahead of time, and they gather the needed materials. So if I'm reading a book, I want to make sure that book is ready right there in the group time area, make sure I'm familiar with the book, that kind of stuff. If I'm going to be singing some songs, I want to make sure that I have maybe an MP3 player ready, maybe my phone ready, maybe instruments ready, that kind of stuff. So make sure that we are ready before we start group time. Then during group time, typically the lead teacher facilitates. The lead teacher is kind of the one in front, probably the one reading, doing a movement activity, that kind of stuff. But also important are all the other teachers that are there. They're going to help children to attend and engage. So oftentimes when teachers are really good models of engagement, when you sit as a support teacher watching the story be read, then children see that and they learn from that and they follow your example. We're going to learn more about group times. We're going to do some group times together. We're going to start off where I'm doing group times so you can watch, and I'll kind of show you why I do what I do. Then you're going to have some times to practice in front of our class. So I don't want you to be anxious about that, but know that group times are a big part of early childhood classrooms, and we want to learn some skills in doing that. Next thing I have on here are meal times. Depending on the length of day and the hours that your program's in operation, children might have breakfast, morning snack, lunch, afternoon snack, dinner, bedtime snack, etc. The program that I worked at, we were open each day from 7:15 in the morning till 5:15 in the late afternoon or evening, and we provided kids with morning snack, lunch, and afternoon snack. So we encourage parents to make sure to feed your child breakfast before they get here, because they wouldn't be having morning snack until about 9:15. So we had morning snack at 9:15, lunch at 12:15, and afternoon snack at 3:15. Meals are important to provide children with energy, to provide them with nutrition, and to support their development and engagement. So hungry kids are not good at learning, so we want to make sure that children are well fed and fed regularly at regular intervals throughout the day. We're going to learn more about meals, planning meals, how to be safe with handling food, what the nutritional needs of children are, what components should be part of your meal. We're going to learn about meal service styles, etc., as we progress in our class. Outdoor times is listed next. Quality programs offer a balance of indoor and outdoor activities. So you want kids to learn and have fun doing things inside as well as outside. DCFS, our regulating agency, in fact requires that children play outside daily, weather permitting. So we'll talk a little bit more about what that means. Playground learning environments should be well planned for a variety of activities. You include a variety of surfaces, so you've got grassy surfaces and hard surfaces. You've got surfaces with resilient surfacing underneath climbers, that kind of stuff. So you want to make sure that you have a lot of surfaces on your playground, a wide variety of materials, and you want to make sure that your outdoor play space is easily supervised so we can keep a very close eye on children and make sure that they are safe. And yes, again, we're going to learn more about outdoor play as our semester progresses. Next in this presentation is rest time. Busy young children need a time to rest, recuperate, and recharge. I would say that busy high schoolers and busy adults also need a time to rest, recuperate, and recharge. But rest time is just another part of the day in the early childhood classroom. Children typically rest on individual cots. Very young children, you would have cribs for infants. And what the teacher's role is to provide a calming, loving, and well-supervised environment to support children's rest. So rest time is a time when oftentimes teachers get to do some lesson planning, maybe some cleaning and stuff like that. But they need to remember to keep their attention on children, to make sure children are on their cots, make sure children are still breathing, make sure children are safe. So I always liked to kind of circulate throughout the classroom during rest time where I could really be checking children and making sure that all was well. Another very important thing that I'm going to toss in here just because I thought of it was that the teacher at all times needs to know the number of children that you have. So during the classroom, you're going to know, oh, today I have 14. During rest time, you're going to know, oh, I have 12 children. Oh, no, one just left. Now I have 11 children. It's very, very important to know this because if you have a fire drill during rest time or a real fire and you need to get out of the building, you're going to want to grab your sign-in sheets, but you're also going to want to know so you can count and make sure that all children are accounted for. Just another little thing on this, the licensing representative may show up at rest time to check on how things are going at your classroom, and they may say, how many children do you have right now? And you really should know that answer very quickly. And again, we're going to learn more about rest, regulations, how to support children who are non-sleepers, and more. Bathroom time is next here. Depending on age and ability, children vary in their ability to use the toilet versus need diaper changes. In our preschool here, since we don't have any diaper changing facilities, we're really asking for children who attend our preschool be able to use the toilet consistently, have very few accidents, that kind of thing. Teachers need to meet children where they are. If we have infants in our classroom, if we have twos in our classroom, maybe some young threes, we're going to need to change diapers as needed. We're going to need to provide regular bathroom breaks. It's always wise for a teacher to have the kids use the bathroom before we go out to the playground. It's important for teachers to supervise children in the bathroom, provide the help that they need. Important for teachers to encourage healthy hand hygiene habits, so teaching children the appropriate way to wash hands and get them very clean, etc. Some centers, we did this at Kish for a long time, we had toothbrushing involved. And we're going to learn more from our credential modules on diaper changing, where we'll actually practice changing a diaper of a doll. We're going to learn about hand washing. We're going to put this stuff on our hands and try to wash it off and then see how well we did hand washing. So we're going to learn more about bathroom time and health habits from our credential learning. Last slide of this portion of the presentation is on departure time. Children remain engaged in activities until pickup at the end of the day, so we don't want to have everybody stop 10 minutes early, but we want kids to be able to keep going until their parents arrive at the end of the day. I often say parents, but I really mean parents and guardians, because some children live with parents, some children live with grandparents, so we really want to use an inclusive term for that. Teachers are responsible for ensuring that approved adults pick each child up. So I want to make sure that whoever picks up that child should be picking up that child. When children are enrolled, there's an application for enrollment, and the enrolling parent is going to list who can pick up. So if we're ever in doubt, we're going to check and make sure that that adult should be picking up that child. Teachers greet parents or guardians upon arrival. We might share briefly how a child's day went, what they did, etc. So we want to be able to have a conversation with parents, but also need to remember that we are still supervising the rest of the children who are still there. And lastly, the parents and guardians sign the children out. They help children to gather their outerwear from their cubby, grab any art that they may have made that is ready to take home, etc. So there we went through kind of the 8 parts of daily routines. Now I just want to talk about some general principles of daily routines. Your classroom routine should be consistent from day to day to day to day to day. So you're doing pretty much the similar thing and similar order of things from day to day. This is important because consistent routines help give children predictability so they can kind of know what comes next. As high schoolers, you know what comes next in your schedule, and we want to have the same thing for children so they know what's coming next and kind of can predict that. We also want transitions between activity times to be smooth. So if we're going from, let's say, intercenter time to using the bathroom, we want to make that a smooth transition where we don't have the entire group go do the same thing at the same time, because there would be a lot of waiting if we did that. You should be ready to be flexible. Because children's needs and moods may require that. You may have bad weather and not be able to go outside. You might have special events. You might have a visitor coming. So even though we want to be consistent as possible from day to day, we do need to be able to change it up a little bit from time to time and just make sure that we explain that to children when we are doing it. Another thing here is it's helpful to have visuals representing your routine. So it's helpful to have a thing that you hang on your wall that says we do this, then this, then this, then this, then this. So children can look there and they can know what's coming, as well as if you have somebody helping out in your classroom, they can know what's coming next as well. Sometimes when children have a difficult time with transitions, you can actually have little pictures of the next activity and take it to that child, showing them what is coming next. So we'll learn more about routines as well. Now, just to summarize today's learning, we explored several different topics, including what is early childhood education, where does early childhood education take place? We learned preschool, childcare, elementary school, that kind of stuff. Why do children attend? We explored various reasons. What do early childhood classrooms look like? We looked at some pictures of early childhood classrooms, and we will be trying to tour some classrooms as well so we can get a first eye look at what they look like. We explored what a typical day looks like in an early childhood classroom. At this point in our in-class discussion, we would do questions and discussion. However, since this is a video recording, if you have any questions, be sure to let me know. Thank you.